Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. Simon Stevens' Olivier Award-winning play, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, has come to Broadway. And I'm here on opening night to celebrate with a company led by Alex Sharp, who's making his Broadway debut. It is opening night. You just got the thumbs up from your writers.
I know, it's crazy. Mark Haddon told me I did a good job. I was like, oh, that means a lot.
Okay, it's your Broadway debut. You and I spoke very early on, and I told you today was going to be really magical. What was the day like for you today, leading up to your opening?
It was. I woke up pretty early because I was just like, what, you know. I kind of woke up and started thinking about it, and then that was it. I couldn't get back to sleep. And I tried to take a nap in the middle of the day. It's too much adrenaline, so I turned up. I was kind of nervous at the beginning because I was so tired, but then about halfway through the first act, I kind of kicked in and felt more awake, I guess. Yeah.
Tell me what this whole journey has been like for you. We spoke very early on.
Yeah.
It is so not only emotional journey you take us on, but the physicality is amazing. Was that the biggest challenge for you with learning the role?
I don't know. I think the biggest challenge is just like general endurance, vocal, physical, and mental. Like, it's quite wearing in a lot of ways, but it's also so joyful a process. I'm working with Marianne Elliott. She's very demanding, very precise. So it's like it's a lot of energy every day, but it's so rewarding and invigorating. And she's incredible. It's been an honor, honestly, from start to finish. I can't believe that I'm standing here. So
And then working with your choreographers.
oh my God, Stephen Hoggett, Scott Graham are just absolutely amazing. It's such a pleasure, and they're so lovely as well, and they're so brilliant. Yeah.
And what you love about this, the character, the role that you play, what you love about him. And did you know the book well before you started?
I did, yeah. I'd read the book. I'd read the book when I was 15, but I hadn't read it for a long time. And then what do I love about him? I mean, he's so unique, and he sees the world in such a beautiful way. And his perseverance is second to none, and I love him. He feels like a very close friend.
And working with this cast.
Oh my God, it's a dream. They're all incredible, and it's an honor because, like, I keep using the word honor, but that really is how it feels, you know, just to be a member of the ensemble, because it's Christopher's story, but nothing would happen without that ensemble of actors. And so it's an honor to be like on stage with them, working with them. Jan Barford, Enid, Frank, like, they're all just incredible. I'm having a blast.
So when you took your bow tonight, do you remember what was going through your mind?
Holy crap. Can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So when you walk down the street and you see that beautiful marquee there and everything else, I mean, it's Broadway. What goes through your mind when you walk to the stage door every night?
Sometimes right before I go through and like start warming up or whatever, I just take a moment and stare at it and just take it in. It's so nuts. It's so great. I mean, it's a beautiful book, which means so much for so many different reasons. And to be in this production, and Simon Stevens, amazing playwright that I admire, and Marianne Elliott, to work. I mean, it's been a dream come true, really.
You were so wonderful to watch. Congratulations. It's opening night in New York, Broadway. How do you feel?
It's amazing. Do you know what? It was a surprise to find out that I was on Broadway when we stepped out of the theatre. I felt so much in that world. I was in Willesden. I was on the London Underground, and I stepped out that door, and I had to remind myself which city I was in. It's fantastic.
For you tonight, Simon.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I mean, you know, the theatre in this city is so central to the international perception of what theatre can be, that to be here with this play and to have a night like tonight, it was a great night, it was a great performance, the cast really stepped up. I feel really, really proud to be here.
And talk about getting to know each other, and you working on his book, and of course, he taking your book and turning it into a play. It was all like?
It was remarkably smooth, wasn't it? I took one decision, which was to choose the right people to do it. Do you know, there's some writers can lose their lives if they think they're going to keep their fingers in the pie of the film or the stage play. You get the right people, and then you go home and put your feet up. And that's what I did. I trusted you, and I trusted Marianne, and I trusted everyone else. We spoke on the phone a couple of times about details, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, Mark was utterly exemplary, and the great thing is that we're mates anyway. And I think we would have been mates if none of this had happened. I think we enjoy each other's work, and we've been very supportive to each other. But I mean, Mark was an exemplary novelist of a novel to adapt, because he said to me, he said, "Look, I trust you. Do whatever you want. If you want to just go away and do it and never contact me, then you never need to. And if you ever need to ring me about anything, then I will answer your call immediately." And to have that level of trust from such a great writer meant the world.
And wasn't it great? When we sat down, there was no money, there's no contract involved. We just said, let's see if it works.
Yeah.
And this thing has happened on the basis of that.
Yeah.
Just friendship and something completely voluntary that we did for fun.
Yeah.
So what has it been like for you seeing your work come to life on stage?
Like some bizarre kind of benign mental illness. I feel. I feel like someone put something in my drink about 10 years ago and it hasn't worn off yet. I tell you, actually, to be much more specific, one of the lovely things about the play is that I was interviewed about that book about 4,000 times and killed it stone dead, and the players brought it alive again.
Perfect. Guys, enjoy. When they were taking their bow tonight on stage, what was going through your guys' heads? Broadway, here we are. What were you thinking?
I was just very proud and very, very grateful to them. I thought they smashed it tonight. I'm very proud of everybody who's worked on the show, and the collective effort from everybody working on this show has been immensely moving, and I was just proud that they smashed it.
It was so magical Friday night, seeing you do what you all do so well. It's opening night. How do you feel?
Oh, well, I think we're all just so relieved and so happy. You know, it's. I think all of us feel like we're really, really lucky to be part of such a great play, such a great production, and among such really wonderful people, both on stage and off. So it's a great night to celebrate.
It's such a beautiful story. Talk about the man that you play and what you love about him.
Oh, I love so much about him. I mean, he's a lonely fellow. He's a single father, and the conditions of his life, by the time we see him in the story, have gotten really extreme. And so perhaps what the audience sees right off the bat is not necessarily who he is on a normal day. But he loves his son very much, despite a lot of difficulties. But I love how honest the play is. It doesn't try to cast either of the parents as good guys or bad guys, and it's complex and it feels very real to me. And despite some of the difficult things, tough things that my character does, I think he's a good man ultimately. And so as an actor, that's interesting terrain to explore.
You know, it's such a unique piece. Tell me what it was like working with Marianne on this and your choreographers.
You know, working with Marianne Elliott and Stephen Hoggett and Scott Graham on this play, I've been doing plays for 25 years, and I've never been a part of anything like this. I think it's very unusual that you have a narrative, a text that is as thoughtful and raw and painful and intellectual and funny, combined with a theatrical event of very inventive and rather big spectacle. So there's so much to appreciate visually, and then on top of that you get a really, really good and thoughtful story. So I think we're all really happy that we're finally open.
So when you took your bow tonight, what do you remember?
I remember looking at my wife, who was in the second row, and smiling at her and feeling very relieved.
It is opening night on Broadway for this wonderful show. How do you feel?
I feel so exhilarated. It's the best fun to be part of this company, I can't tell you. We're so involved in it together, and it's such an ensemble. I mean, obviously there's Alex, and we're all around him all the time. But there's this incredible company feeling, and that's what makes this play work. And Marianne said from the beginning, this is a company show. And everything about it has been all of us all together all the time. And so to come through that whole thing and then to get the final ingredient of the audience, which just, when bananas. I mean, they went bananas from the first preview. There's so much love, like ricocheting off the walls of the theatre for this story and for this boy, and to be a part of that is nothing like it.
Talk about the wonderful woman that you play.
Yes, Siobhan, she's fantastic. She's his teacher, and she's everything. She's the one who says, well, why don't you write this book? And Simon said, well, she's also the one who says, why don't we make it into a play? And she's behind him all the way, and she appears in his mind sometimes when he needs guidance. She gives him tools to navigate the things that he has to do. And she's also reading the book that she's asked him, but she gets so absorbed in the book that she then becomes somehow a microbe of his brain and is sort of urging him on. And then she's just a teacher in a classroom with him, trying to help him organize himself when he comes back, and he's obsessed with taking his A-level, and she's trying to help him figure out if he's going to be okay to do it. And she's all kinds of things, and she understands. The most important thing about her is that she gets him. She understands him. She understands what it's like to be challenged that way that he is, and for that I love her. You know, I think she's.
I was going to say, you're the person who understands him the most, inside and out.
Yeah, really, and she really gets it. She really gets him, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Talk about working with Alex. He's making his Broadway debut in this.
Exciting. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's fantastic. I mean, it doesn't feel that way. You don't ever think for a second you're not with somebody who doesn't know exactly what they're doing. It hasn't done this hundreds of times before. Every now and again, I'll catch myself and think, wow, look at him.
I saw it Friday night. You all blew me away.
Oh, I'm so glad.
How do you feel tonight?
Well, it's a fantastic night. You know, we've all been working really, really hard and getting so much love and wonderful response from the audience, and it's just thrilled to be opening it now.
It's such a gorgeous, unique theatrical show. What does it mean to you working on this and being a part of it?
Well, to me, you know, it's really like the kind of theater that I always dreamed about doing, by which I mean it's telling the story in a theatrical way only the theater can do. And it's using actors as a real ensemble and all kinds of crazy, you know, skills that maybe you didn't even know you had, but all in the way that theater does best. And, you know, I'm a big theater, I don't know, romantic, I guess, is the word. And so, you know, it's my pleasure to be in something that tells a story that way.
Talk about the wonderful woman that you play.
Well, the thing I like about Judy is she's just a person. You know, she loves her son. She's been dealt a very difficult challenge with her family life. And, you know, she does her best, but she's flawed. And as a mother myself, I recognize that. I think any mother would, you know, like you, at the end of the day, you're doing your best, but you make a lot of big mistakes, you know, and you hope that your love, you know, can conquer it. And I think it can. But I think in lots of ways, the story is sort of a love letter to parents and mothers, you know, whether you have a child who's got special issues or not, because we all have struggles with our children and make mistakes and fall short. And I think Judy is living that, you know, every night.
And talk about working with this cast. Young Alex making his Broadway debut.
Oh, isn't he fantastic? Well, he's impressed me from the very first minute, because let me tell you, they threw a lot of stuff at him that you wouldn't be surprised if an actor said, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to be climbing up that or flipping around that way. And he always was calm and had an open attitude and, you know, just tried. And then he's put together this unbelievably beautiful and deep and rich performance that looks like a seasoned professional and not like someone who just got their equity card.
It is opening night, Broadway. How does it feel tonight for you?
Feels wonderful. How many times can you say that, really? But Marianne is such a perfectionist that we were ready for this. We were excited about it. And it's just really an extraordinary group of people. We're having a great time.
What was it like working with her in the rehearsal room?
You know, we had boot camp every single morning, 6 days a week, to get the strength training going, because it takes a great deal to move very quickly, pick up the boxes, stack them just so, and I didn't have to do the heavy lifting, but a lot of them did. And the learning curve was quite steep, but everybody came through.
There's so much movement in this show with your characters. What was that like working on that with your choreographers?
Well, Stephen Hoggett is a genius. He just is wonderful. And Marianne made, she said it's supposed to look like a Lamborghini if it's moving correctly. And it just has to be really pleasing to the eye, and the story has to flow visually and, of course, the verbal aspect of it, of course. But it's the look, it's the sound, it's the rapidity. It goes at the speed of thought. And so you have to stay very much on top of the whole thing. And it was a joy to do.
Talk about this woman that you play.
Well, this is I fell in love with this part when I read it because she's a neighbor that doesn't judge. She simply wants to talk to him. She wants to have a good time. And she, by accident, hits on all kinds of questions that he can answer. Does he like computers? And would you like a dog? And I have a grandson your age, and he tells me his age. And so it moves his world a little bit further for the audience. He who is not socially comfortable at all of a sudden starts talking in more than simple sentences. And he grows a bit and goes on from there and grows some more. And so she kind of opens that door so that he can move forward and do things that he never expected he could do.
Most of your scenes are with Alex, who's making his Broadway debut. What is he like? Yeah, tell me.
Well, I sat next to him the first day of rehearsal, and he had a whole bunch of papers in front of him. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I haven't joined Equity yet, and I don't have an agent." And here he is.
We're talking about you. Get in here.
Come in
amazing.
here.
Well, she's talking about the first day when you sat at the table, and she said, "What are you doing?" And you were filling your paperwork out, right, about joining Equity.
Paperwork for Equity. And she
Which
said,
paperwork?
You said, I'm not a member of Equity
Oh,
yet.
that's right.
And
I still haven't got my
it's
card.
a wonderful
They're
story.
going to drag me off the stage one night, I'm sure of it. Thank you.
That must have been so wonderful for you to sit here with him and hear that from him.
Well, he walked out of school, and I don't think the door had slammed behind him before he landed this role. But Marianne saw something very special. He's got a sense of wonder that is so infectious, and you as the audience jump on board immediately, and it's just a great ride, isn't it?
So when you took your bow tonight, what went through your mind? Do you remember?
I thought we did it, and he did it. That's the most exciting thing. I mean, he will look back. I don't think anybody starting out can quite absorb what has happened to him. And it'll take a while, but he has been gracious and kind, and he takes notes from everybody and from all the various directors in the production. And he's an old soul and a very, very talented young man.
It's opening night in New York. How do you guys feel?
Relieved, happy, relieved.
Yeah, really thrilled, Yeah.
What was this whole show like working on? It's so visual, it's so full of movement. What were the challenges for you? What attracted you? How did it move for you?
I think it was a challenge for everybody. It's such a well-loved book, and then to make that real on the stage, we had to kind of start again in lots of ways and just be brave. Simon has been very brave in his adaptation, and he set the standard really. And Marianne at the helm is just, it was a very, very creative process, very challenging, and nobody relied on old tricks. It was about taking risks and seeing what would happen, really.
It's a very singular view of the world. It's an autistic view of the world. So we had to get our heads around that, and your impulse to make work a certain way never worked. So we made some terrible stuff at the start, but by being pure about it and by following the lead from these guys, we've crafted something that probably isn't the normal kind of work that we would make, but all the better for that. It was really refreshing.
And working with Alex here in New York, what that's been like?
It's been fantastic. He's a very open, honest and generous performer, and we've seen him grow and thrive on this. Yeah. He's worked so hard. He's an amazingly talented guy.
Yeah, he's on stage throughout the entire thing. His stamina is incredible. His focus is amazing. And at the end of every show, he gets notes from everybody, so everybody's pouncing on him. So it's a very, very demanding process as well as a demanding performance. So we're very proud of him. He does us proud, yeah.
So going back to the beginning, how much pre-production did you do with the show on how the characters were going to move?
I think initially we spent a week starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Just trying to work out what was right, what was wrong. Most of it was wrong, some of it was right, but it was always fun, it was always daring. So we had a taste of what that world might be, but it was an incredibly collaborative process, so you were learning from the other people you were working with and the other performers. So it wasn't about having a very strong idea, it was, I suppose, I don't know, just working hard and listening to others and making it up as you go along, I think.
It is opening night. What's going through your head tonight?
I'm just so excited. I'm so in love with this show, and it's so exciting to have it be so well received.
Okay, take me back to the beginning, because there's two Christophers who work in the show. There's you and there's Alex. How did you rehearse the show?
We would split the days up. So for the first half of the day, we'd work on just physical sequences because there's all of this crazy, amazing movement. And we would sort of swap in and out. And in the afternoons, it would be Alex working through the text, and I would sort of just sit in the corner and take notes and hope that I remembered the words. And then Alex got put into the show during Tech Week, and once we were up and running in previews, I had like a very condensed Tech Week myself, and they threw me up there and crossed my fingers and hoped for the best.
Okay, let's talk about the tech of the show. The physical stuff that your character does in this show is amazing. What was it like to grasp all of that, all the movement and things that you do?
Totally. Well, I mean, I was so intimidated initially because I'm such a humongous fan of Stephen and Scott, having seen their work in New York for the last 5 years. So at first I was scared out of my mind, but then once I got to know them both, they are the funniest, most generous, patient, wonderful men, and inspiring and motivating. And we all as a company worked so hard to achieve what seemed so scary at first, and now is a blast, so much fun.
And working with Marianne.
Oh man, I'm just the biggest fan I was already the biggest fan of hers, and now I'm even more of a fan. I didn't think it was possible. She just brings such a lightness and a positivity into the rehearsal room and creates an atmosphere where you feel totally safe to experiment and try anything and look stupid and fail. And in those moments, that's actually when we find kind of maybe the best moments of the show, the most successful moments.
What you love about Christopher, were you a big fan of the book beforehand?
I was an enormous fan, and when I heard that this was even being adapted into a play, I sort of kept a close watch on it because I loved this character so much. And strangely, I feel like I probably relate to this character most out of any I'd played because I grew up as a competitive mathlete, so I had a huge interest in math, and my sister and I had our pet rat at home, and I just love this story. I think it's so important and unique, and I didn't think it could get any better than the book, but here we are watching this extraordinary play.
It's opening night. How do you feel?
Lots of things. I feel lots of things. I feel relieved that we got through it. We were all very nervous. I feel exhilarated. It's exciting. My whole family are here. My in-laws are here. My daughter's here. We're having a great time.
This is such a beautiful piece to watch. I was talking to the choreographers. They say it was very collaborative from the very beginning of how you just organically worked on this. That they said there wasn't a lot of pre-prep coming into the rehearsal room. What was it like for you as the director?
Well, there was quite a lot of pre-prep from my point of view in terms of how it was going to look, how the set was going to look. Me and Bunny Christie, the designer, spent weeks and weeks and weeks deciding what the aesthetic would be like. But it is true that when we got into the rehearsal room with the choreographers, we were very collaborative, we were very open, we were kind of going, well, let's try this, what do you think? I don't know, okay, well, let's try that. You know, we were very, very open. But we did know before we started rehearsals, because we had a week in studio with some actors, me and the choreographers had, where we were trying out how we would do the journey to London. And so we had some ideas that it would work in that way. I mean, there were lots of awful ideas in that week as well, but they didn't make the grade. But we knew that we had enough that we could go into rehearsals with. So.
And working with Simon on this, with the playwright, what that whole experience has been like.
Well, I know Simon really well. We old friends. We've worked together a lot. He gave me this play to see what I thought. And so when I first read it, I had no idea I would be directing it, which is actually very liberating because you're not thinking, well, how am I going to do that? And how am I going to do that? It was absolutely impossible to stage. But I knew at the end, when I'd finished reading it, that I loved it. It was really beautiful and very moving. I still had no idea how to do it, but I thought, oh, I've got to do this. I can't let anybody else get their hands on this.